about 25 stitches. That's good. 19, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20. So we have the right number of stitches. Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. Yes, we're talking cast-ons for the next 2 weeks. This week it is the provisional cast-on. So the provisional cast-on can be done actually in very many ways. There are 4 or 5 methods to do a provisional cast-on. You use it in various situations. This week we're going to do what I think is probably the easiest. It feels less complicated and you're less likely to get in a tangle because you do one step and then you do the next step. But the first step uses a crochet hook. This is so worth it because it feels simpler than other provisional cast-ons. So let's get to it, let's get straight to that demo. So I have 2 balls of yarn here, I have a crochet hook, and I have a pair of needles that I'm going to knit with. So one of these yarns is going to be the yarn that you want to knit with. The other one is a scrap, and you're going to start with the scrap yarn. So with this, we need the crochet hook. So we're going to start with a slip knot, as usual, and that is winding the short end of yarn around the tips of the fingers, then near the knuckles, and then we can use the crochet hook to just pull that second loop through, and you have your slip knot. That's your first stitch. Okay, so if we were knitting, that means, oh, it's got to sit on the needle, but if we're crocheting, we don't. We actually start like this. So I am going to just hold that stitch there in place. I'm holding the little knot, and now I'm going to hold my crochet yarn like this. This is how I always hold my crochet yarn, and it's also how I hold my yarn when I'm doing more than one colour of yarn. So it's wrapped around my little finger like I always do with knitting on the other hand, and then I hold the yarn, the stitch in place, or the current piece of crochet in place with my thumb and forefinger, and it's this piece of yarn that I pick up to make the stitches. Okay, so what I'm going to do is move the needle in between that stitch, pick up the yarn and pull that loop through. And again, it's just a repetitive motion. So if we want to cast on, say, 20 stitches, I'm going to make a cast on crochet chain of something like 25 stitches, just so we've got a few extra and we're not fiddling around right at the end of the row, right at the end of the chain, as we need to make the stitches. Okay, so we're doing pretty well here. You get into a rhythm here and you can see that your rhythm lets you have even stitches one at a time. There we go. How many have we got here? About 25 stitches. That's good. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that crochet hook out, cut off the thread there. That's the scrap yarn that we don't need anymore, and I'm just going to secure that with that last piece of thread. Okay, so this is what we're now going to use to make the stitches for our knitting. What we need is to take a look at this chain. From one side it looks like lots of leaf shapes, one after the other, one after the other. That's the side that you would normally look at and say, isn't that beautiful? But we want to turn it up the other way. So what we see on this side is just little lumps there. That little piece of thread goes behind the back of the crochet chain there. And each one of these we're going to use to make our stitches. So this would be the working yarn that you're going to start knitting with, whether you're knitting a pair of socks or anything. This is the yarn that you're going to work with. And you're obviously going to have this short end hanging low here. Hold on to that with your right hand, with your left hand along with the crochet chain, and you'll get started quite easily. Okay, so the needle goes into that first stitch. Actually, let's go into the second stitch, otherwise we can't cut it loose. Okay, so basically move that yarn round and pull that loop through. Now into the next. And guess what? We've got stitches appearing already. So the needle goes into that loop, move the yarn around with your right finger, pull that loop through, and you've got your stitch. In, around, and through. In, around, and through. So one at a time, we're just creating stitches with this chain. And like I said, let's make more stitches than you actually need on your chain, so that when you create the knitted stitches, you've got more than enough sitting there waiting for you. 19, 20. So that's 20 stitches using that chain. Now I'll sit here and knit some rows, and then we'll find out what you do to release those stitches from the provisional cast on edge. Alright, so now that I've knitted a few rows, what we're going to do is release the stitches that are underneath here. And we're going to do that one at a time, nice and carefully. And you may find that you kind of think, now, is there one missing one side or the other? Let's have a look at that when we've finished. Quite simply, I'm going to release this thread at the end here. There we go. And just start unraveling. Oh, wrong side. Release this thread here and just start unraveling. Okay, and as I unravel, I'm going to put every teal coloured loop onto my needle. There we go. And actually do it before I pull the purple out. If you feel brave enough, you can do that. Am I going to get the right loop or not? Or if you want to, you can pull the purple out like this and then catch the stitch. And if you want, you could also use a spare needle that's slightly smaller to pick these stitches up. That might be helpful if you want to. And just like I did, you may start unraveling from the wrong end, but just recognise that it's not going anywhere. And then you just start on the other end instead. There we go. Then that last stitch is a bit of a pain there, and we'll just put that loop on there as well. Right, let's count the stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. So we have the right number of stitches, but it looks as if they're just jogged slightly to the left here. That is going to happen because we are knitting from one direction and then we're knitting from the other direction. So we're not knitting with the stitch, we're knitting with the loop that made the stitch. So in that respect, they are going to be just slightly jogged one side to the other. And it won't notice. As soon as you start knitting and you keep going, it won't notice. And you also have this thread in here to just sew up the seam, to just wind in there and hide what you might think is a bit of a mess, but actually it's just a little bit of a jog. Okay, so this is then how you might hold the needles together and perhaps create a tunnel. If you probably need to knit a bit more, but you might create some kind of pathway for a cord or a tie. You also might have a particular pattern going one way and you want it to mirror in the other direction. That's why you might use this as well. So that's the stitches that we're currently knitting on. You just pick up another ball of yarn and start knitting in that direction when you need to. So there you go, that is your provisional cast on video. This provisional cast on is used in the cleansing kits is the exfoliating cleansing kit that we use this. So it's just for slightly more advanced knitters. If you want to have a go at that, then do go and check that one out, and you can come exactly straight here. If you get the knitting kit or the pattern, there's a QR code so that you can jump right into the playlist here on YouTube. I'm going to stick this tutorial straight in that playlist. Do go and take a look at that knitting kit in the shop. The link is down below. If you don't have a crochet hook, then we've just added crochet hook set to our shop, and that's 4 crochet hooks. That means if you're a knitter and you don't need a full set of crochet hooks, it's enough to keep you going. It's enough for when you need to pick up a drop stitch, for example, or like this, you need it for a specific cast on method, and even cast off methods may use a crochet hook as well. Like I said at the beginning, I'll be back next week with another cast on method. We're doing the long tail cast on method next week. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Happy knitting.